Captain Atlas lived with his family in a small coastal town in Norway. He had a deep love for the sea, especially for boats. Every time he saw a sailboat in the harbor, his dreams grew bigger. Atlas had a small sailboat of his own. It wasn't very big, but to him it was the most precious thing in the world. He often went on short trips with it. He was not very experienced yet, but he had one big dream: to sail across the great oceans one day. Atlas's father was also a sailor. Atlas called him Yun, and he lovingly called his mother Dai. Yun taught Atlas everything he knew about the sea: how to read the wind, how to find direction by the stars, and how to understand the language of the waves. When Yun was young, he had sailed far across the seas with his own small boat. He loved telling Atlas stories about his adventures. Every time Atlas listened, his eyes sparkled with excitement. One day, Atlas went to Yun and said with determination, "Yun, I want to sail into the open sea." Yun was not surprised. Everyone who lived in this town dreamed of exploring the world by sailboat. Yun looked into Atlas's eyes and saw courage, passion, and love for the sea. He smiled gently. "You are ready now," he said. Atlas was overjoyed. At last, he would raise his sails and begin his own adventure across the endless seas. Days passed, and Atlas became a more confident and skilled captain. Yun had taught him everything he knew. "I'm ready," Atlas said proudly. A few days later, it was time to leave. Atlas went to the harbor with his family. His sailboat stood quietly, as if it had been waiting for this very moment. Yun placed his hand on Atlas's shoulder. "You're ready to raise the sails." Dai looked at Atlas with loving eyes. "Our hearts will always be with you. Never forget that." Atlas untied the ropes and waved from the deck. "I love you," he shouted excitedly. The sailboat slowly left the harbor. Atlas waved back as his family grew smaller on the shore until they disappeared beyond the horizon. The weather was calm. The sea was clear and peaceful. The sailboat glided smoothly over the water. Atlas drifted into his thoughts. He felt as if he were flying above the sea. His first destination was clear: the Atlantic Ocean. It was a challenging place, famous for sudden storms and changing weather. But Atlas was prepared. He opened his map, chose his route, and gently turned the helm toward his destiny. After a few days, he planned to stop at a small island. Everything went as planned, and soon he reached his first island, far from his home. The island was not very large. It had a small mountain-like peak in the center and was surrounded by forest. Atlas couldn't wait to explore it. He anchored his sailboat near a sheltered shore and lowered his small inflatable boat. Rowing carefully, he reached the beach. As his feet touched the water, he took a deep breath. The sun was shining and the air was warm. It felt like a summer day, but the date no longer mattered. He lay down on the sand. Gentle waves touched his feet. "This is where the adventure begins," he whispered. Jumping up with excitement, he shouted, "Adventure is waiting for me." The island was small, but Atlas wanted to climb to the top and look out over the sea. A narrow path led from the beach into the forest. He followed it, accompanied only by birdsong and the sound of his footsteps. Soon, he found the path leading to the peak. The climb was not difficult. At the top, his sailboat looked tiny below him. The sea stretched endlessly in every direction. Atlas didn't know what awaited him, but he had never felt happier. He took a sandwich from his bag and enjoyed the view. This will be the story of Captain Atlas's adventures, he thought. and it has just begun. Atlas returned to his boat, raised the sails again, and continued his journey. Each day brought something new. One day, dolphins swam alongside him. Another day, he watched swordfish leap out of the sea. But one morning, when he checked the radar, he knew the calm was over. A powerful storm was approaching. The Atlantic Ocean was famous for its storms. Atlas had experience, but this one looked stronger than any he had faced before. He quickly lowered the sails and prepared the boat. Hours later, the sky darkened. Giant waves rose, and the wind and rain made it difficult to stay at the helm. Atlas secured himself and held the wheel tightly. The waves lifted the boat high into the air and then dropped it sharply, like a wild roller coaster. Then he saw a massive wave approaching. For a moment he thought, "Is this the end?" The wave lifted the boat so high that Atlas felt as if he were standing on top of a mountain. He closed his eyes. The descent was hard, but the boat was still afloat. Suddenly he heard a voice. "Hold on, I'll save you." Atlas looked around in shock. Then he saw it, a huge shadow beneath the boat. A whale was carrying the sailboat on its back. "You're a whale!" Atlas exclaimed. "Yes," the whale said calmly. "Hold the helm tightly. Focus." The whale guided Atlas to a nearby island and gently placed the boat on a sheltered shore, safe from the storm. Atlas took a deep breath. "Thank you. I wouldn't have survived without you." "You're welcome," said the whale. "My name is Marin. I'm Captain Atlas. Nice to meet you." That day, a great friendship began. And from that moment on, the adventure was no longer a journey of one, but of two.